All right, this is chapter 6. We're going to talk displacement and diffusion. All right, so we're going to talk about the fact that most prevention programs are place specific, means that evaluations typically focus only on changes within the target neighborhood or community. Crime prevention programs could have an impact beyond that which is intended. Changes could be positive and negative. Evaluations generally fail to consider the possibility of displacement or diffusion. All right, what is crime displacement? So crime displacement represents change in crime due to the prevention actions of the individual or the society. Most focus on the shift of crime from one place to another, such as crime spillover. An example, you have an increase in police presence in one neighborhood that may reduce crime in that area, but also cause an increase in the next neighborhood. So for example, if you have cop cars that are responding to a 2-mile radius area, then they're saying that criminals are still going to commit crime. They're just going to go outside of that 2-mile area when they would have gone inside that 2-mile area. All right, diffusion, what is that? It is the spread of the beneficial influence of an intervention beyond the places which are directly targeted, the individuals who are the subject of control, and the crimes which are the focus of the intervention or time periods in which an intervention is brought. So rather than shifting the crime, diffusion assumes that the prevention efforts will benefit people in place other than those targeted. All right, crime displacement represents a change in crime due to the preventative actions of the individual or society. The assumption is that many crime prevention actions simply move the crime around and can take forms of other than just the geographical movement. According to Repetto, there are 5 forms of displacement. They are territorial, temporal, tactical, target, and functional. All right, let's look at them. We're actually going to look at all these, okay? So when you get a chance, this is in your book as well, make sure you understand the difference between territorial, temporal, tactical, target, functional, and perpetrator. I'm going to go through them really quickly. Territorial, an example is a neighborhood watch program is started, burglars move to another neighborhood. So that's easy, territorial, right? Temporal, a citizen patrol is instituted at night, thus prompting burglars to work during the morning hours, so it's a shift of time. Tactical, the installation of deadbolts on doors results in burglars going through the windows, so they're doing a different tactical deployment. Target is a neighborhood watch program is started, but only half the homes participate, so the offenders go and target the non-participating homes, so who they target. Functional, when burglary becomes more difficult due to target hardening devices. Target hardening devices means, for example, when you go into Weimar and you can no longer buy shavers and you have to ask a cashier to get them for you. That's target hardening. And that's where the offender decides to commit a robbery instead because they can't get those shavers anymore, so they're going to hold the place up at gunpoint. And then perpetrator, while crime prevention actions cause an individual to desist from further offending, another individual sees opportunities and begins to offend. All right, evidence of displacement. So there's little reason to ever expect total displacement of a crime. That's called territorial displacement, and most common form considered in evaluation. And also the distance traveled can be measured in 2 ways. And there's 2 ways that you can measure distance. I'll let you pause here and read those ways. All right, so territorial, we kind of went over that really quickly, but there is a pattern of distant decay, which means that the commission of a crime decreases as the distance from the offender's home increases. So what they're saying is most people are going to offend close to where they live, because you have to remember not everybody has a vehicle or think if you have to take a bus or get a ride somewhere, how are you going to go and burglarize a home and steal a huge 50-inch TV if you have no way to transport it miles and miles to get to the place where people aren't going to be seeing you? All right, again, we have temporal, tactical, target, functional, so you can pause here and read through these, even though we went through them already, but there's some more information of how there's evidence of displacement. All right, there's also some studies that were done, and this was a study done in 2009 that looks that a lot of the observation uncovered displacement, and the level of displacement is typically a small proportion of the total decrease in crime. All right, Displacement does not appear in various forms. It's not an inevitable outcome and not 100%. There were actually 2 reviews of this claim that to find little evidence of displacement, and you can pause these, and again, these are in your textbook to make sure you know these and read through these. All right, crime displacement. So there's 4 assumptions with crime displacement. Number 1, crime is inelastic, meaning it's driven to commit a certain number of offenses over a period of time. Offenders have mobility. It can be across time, place, tactic, or any displacement dimension. Not all potential offenders, however, have the same level of mobility. Youth may not have access to transportation, or they may be tied to schools or curfew where adults aren't. Also, it may be limited to features of the surrounding environment, isolated by location or physical barriers. You know, locally, we've got a lot of houses, especially that are more remote, that have blackberry bushes. To get in easily, you'd have to climb through that blackberry bush. If you've ever tried to pick blackberries from a blackberry bush, you know it's not very fun because there's stickers. Can you imagine climbing through one and the ticks and the bugs? So that's a physical barrier example. All right, continuing on assumptions. Number 3, offenders make rational choices based on their environment and respond to payoff. You know, what's it going to be worth? If they hear of a home that has something there that they want, they may do it. Whereas if it's nothing that they want at that home, they're going to just be like, wow, you know, not worth it. And then finally, alternative targets and choices are available. All right, so here's an example of a city with a geographically bounded neighborhood. So basically what it's saying is that the opportunities for crime are not huge. So your offender is going to get really creative and use some different ways as far as tactical or target hard, different things to look at, or they're not going to commit the crime. All right, displacement, is it benign or malign? So malign displacement leads to undesirable outcomes, such as efforts aimed at reducing burglary may prompt an increase in robberies. Benign displacement suggests that changes from displacement may benefit society. So a new crime or tactic that are utilized by offenders may be less serious or offer less danger to the potential victims, or certain areas or neighborhoods may become crime fusses, areas where crime is allowed to operate without bothering the rest of society until it explodes in that area. You had a couple studies, Clark and Weisberg. I want you to make sure you read through in your textbook or here. And there are a variety of names, including halo effect or free bonus effect, which assumes that prevention efforts will benefit people in other places other than those targeted. All right, diffusion. There's 2 potential sources for diffusion. One is deterrence, one is discouragement. Deterrence can have an impact in various ways. While prevention efforts are short-lived, the impact on crime often outlasts the period of intervention. Similarly, targeting one location or certain merchandise may result in protecting other targets, whereas discouragement is reducing the payoff and increasing the effort needed to commit a crime. So, offender has choice in mobility. And these are really important, and you want to remember, opportunity is always the cornerstone. And we're going to see the triangle coming up where you need to have a criminal, you need to have a victim, and you need to have an opportunity for the crime. And there's 3 primary theoretical orientations which we're going to talk about. Number 1, and you need to know these, are routine activities. Number 2, rational choice. And 3, crime pattern theory. There's also 10 principles of opportunity. These are important to know. So I'm going to go through these really fast. So 1, opportunity plays a role in causing all crime. Obviously, if you don't have an opportunity for crime, you're not going to have a crime. For example, I can't tell you how many times I responded to a crime of a stolen vehicle. And I went and talked to the victim and said, what happened? And they said, well, I started my vehicle, it was cold outside, I kept it running, and I forgot something inside, so I didn't want to shut off the vehicle, so I ran inside really quickly. Well, at the exact same time, you had 2 criminals walking by that hadn't planned on stealing a car, but they saw a car running, the doors unlocked, nobody around. That's an opportunity. All right, 2, crime opportunities are highly specific. 3, crime opportunities are concentrated in time and place. 4, crime opportunities depend on everyday movements. 5, one crime produces another opportunity for another. You break into a house and you notice that somebody has a certain type of product there and you see that they have a badge that they work somewhere, and you realize that this opens up the door for other crimes to occur at the place they work. 6, some products offer more tempting crime opportunities. Obviously, if you can pawn a watch that you can put in your pocket and easily hide for a lot more money than a 55-inch TV that's hard to carry and hard to get out of a house and hard to hide yourself carrying it, you're going to steal the watch. 7, social and technological changes produce new crime opportunities. Wow, the web, identity theft just come to mind. 8, opportunities for crime can be reduced. Obviously, you can do that yourself by doing CCJ techniques, which you guys are going to be doing soon. 9, reducing opportunities does not usually displace crime. And 10, focused opportunity reduction can produce wider declines in crime. All right, so what is routine activity? It argues that the normal movement and activities of both potential offenders and victims play a role in the occurrence of crime. 3 criteria must exist for a crime to occur. Here's that triangle: the victim, the offender or criminal, and the opportunity. You need to know that. This is so huge across all crime prevention techniques. Factors have changed over the years. All right, so there is your crime triangle that we talked about. Then you have rational choice. Offenders make rational choices about when they're going to offend. There's a great video right here. I put a link. Don't worry about saving this link. I put a link in your Moodle where you can go watch this. It's a great example of rational choice. All right, crime pattern theory proposes that the crime and criminal behavior fits patterns that can be identified and understood when viewed in terms of when and where they occur. Keys to understanding the pattern are environmental backcloth, the social crime template, and then you have 4 factors that are needed to construct and maintain a mental image of the area, which is recognition, prediction, evaluation, and action. All right, you also have cognitive mapping, which entails the removal of fear, uncertainty for the individual, which allows him or her to make an informed choice. All right, you also have logical question flowing from the idea of cognitive mapping is how an individual gains recognition of different areas. Makes sense, right? Offenders form cognitive maps through normal daily activities that take an individual into and around various areas. They build their knowledge as they go to and from work, when they shop, when they learn things. Somebody may say, oh, I helped so-and-so move, and they had a lot of guns. Let's hit that place. So this all goes into that crime pattern theory. All right, and then finally, there's a continued growth and sprawl of modern urban communities that greatly contributes to the building of larger and more complex cognitive maps. And this is just a little picture of that. All right, this ends chapter, and we'll see you for the next video.